I'm good beverage-wise for the week. My wife has been buying Gatorade that's prepackaged, like we are millionaires.
As opposed to loose Gatorade, where you have to bring your own wheelbarrow.
I don't know how rich she thinks we are, but we're not prepackaged Gatorade rich. So I got a big tub of it to make gallons with, and I'm set on hydration for the week.
I'm still confused by prepackaged Gatorade. What do you mean? Like they're already in the bottle?
Yeah, we're like 90% of it, which is water, you're paying for again.
You would rather she buy the powder that you mix in to make your own Gatorade?
Do you not?
I don't know anyone who does that.
I think the theme of this podcast is you didn't know you grew up rich. How many laundry chutes again?
Only 4.
How many laundry chutes did you keep? All various different half-drunk bottles of Gatorade.
At Christmas time, little Jared just comes down the stairs, and there's just clean, empty bottles. Like 3 of them for your mixed Gatorade.
I could also frame it as like an eco and or health conscious decision because I'm avoiding plastics.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's much better positioning.
You know what? I'll backtrack on my condescending tone because you're right. We should all be using powdered Gatorade for the earth. Man, I watched so much Captain Planet as a kid, and like water at a duck's back. I don't recycle. I don't drive an electric car. I shop on Amazon.
You will talk back to your mother when she tells you to litter, though.
So they at least cartooned the littering out of me.
It wasn't so much your actions that mattered as much as the breaking up of the family.
I will use the same water bottle over and over again.
Despite your mom?
It really grinds your gears.
She's just like, throw that out the window and get a new one. Wait, you mean like the same plastic water bottle?
Yeah. I'm thinking mostly for my hockey games. Got to have some water on the bench. And I just have a smart water bottle with like a flip top lid. I just keep using the same one. I'm not going to go buy a new smart water bottle every hockey game.
Now, we will get to the core of this after about 1,000 publications and retractions in the Lancet, I'm sure. But I think there's something about that also reintroduces microplastics into the water as you continue to reuse it, as it breaks down.
So I'm ingesting microplastics?
Right. It's better for the earth, but from a health perspective, you're now continuing to rub and create friction and push out a bunch of like BPA, especially if that thing's sitting in various different climates, temperature changes up and down.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Well, do I get to enjoy the smell of my own fart for a minute here and say that I'm just doing it for Earth? I'm filling my body.
That's
up with
very noble.
Poisons, because Ted Turner 30 years ago told me to take care of Gaia.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you're like an eco kamikaze.
Mm-hmm.
That's big. It's pretty high ranking.
Yeah, some people would say martyr.
You can generally find someone to say anything.
What's the carbon footprint of getting 4 more letters etched onto my tombstone? Because I want it to say hero now too. But I don't want to do so if it's bad for the earth in some way.
I think if it's done manually with chisel and the remaining marble is donated to a less fortunate family, I think you're probably coming out on top.
Okay. Yeah.
But no laser etching.
Oh, okay. Lasers are bad.
You know what I'm going to have on my tombstone?
I know exactly what you're going to say. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Back door, please.
I didn't know what you were going to say. I thought you were going to go cheese and pepperoni, like the Tombstone commercials.
I'm going to need you to put a pin in that because I want to speak to you at length about that thing, but not on this podcast.
Okay.
There is an unrelated topic to that I'd like to discuss at length, and it's too much of a tangent.
Okay.
Even for us.
All right. We're not going to get into the Undertaker's finishing moves this episode. See, this makes me feel bad because we took a week off. We took a week off for the holidays, everybody. So sorry. And I feel out of sync. I thought you were going to go Tombstone pizza commercial, and you didn't.
I think because I was already working backward from something in my mind, the natural blank that I would have filled in wasn't there.
You were trying to get us into this minute of Home Alone, and I was trying to stay alive forever with nostalgic references to the TV commercials of my past.
You're not getting old. Which minute?
49?
Oh. What happens in the 49th minute?
I believe, if I have my timing right, pizza delivery guy picks up the jockey, or is on the tail end of picking up the jockey. It's like top of the minute there. Sees a sign, back door, please. Goes around back. And he and Kevin have an exchange where Kevin does not speak to him at all, but uses instead lines from the film Angels with Filthy Souls to retrieve a pizza without having to interact with another human being. I believe the minute ends after this transaction has taken place, but kind of before has he shot him yet?
Not quite.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Okay, so we only have like this precocious little Kevin using the film in a rather ingenious way to get himself a pizza and leave the worst tip of all time.
A tip of 20 cents.
Correct.
On 1180.
Right.
We'll need to go to the beginning, but while we're on that tip.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's start with A, great summary. 2, that is indeed a terrible tip. And D, 1180 actually makes sense in a way that is kind of impressive, given that the other pizzas from before, the 10 pizzas times $12, they all averaged $12.25 each. So some might have been 13, some might have been.
Mm-hmm. He's got a plain cheese, though.
I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that they did a pretty good job of pricing things.
I agree.
It's not necessarily consistency.
It's an attention to detail that we can appreciate, that it's all still making sense, that the price of the pizza is congruent with the prices of the pizzas that we've heard of before.
I think it's that there's that level of detail, but maybe something else.
Well, if I can bring up a point, F, what I appreciate about it, and it doesn't even really register on the screen, but the last time this guy was at this place, he got, and I'm quoting here, a nice tip. Thanks a lot.
Nice tip. And she goes, what did you say? And he goes, tip.
And
deleted scene.
You got to think that this dude sees the address. He pulls up to the house. He hits the jockey again. He goes, ooh, this is that nice tip house. And he gets a 20-cent tip. It's just got to sting a little bit more.
This is why you have to keep your expectations low.
But he can only go off precedent.
I'm just being cheeky about cynicism.
And what's interesting is that this guy doesn't have that moment of the movie. It's not his movie. Although I would watch his movie. I would watch Pizza Boy's Adventures. But he got a big tip and he's back. What is this, 2 days later?
Yeah.
He can only expect another big tip. He's not going up to the door going, might not get any tip. He's going up here thinking, yeah, Catherine O'Hara is going to hook me up here once again.
Well, I think that's why he responds the way he does to Backdoor Please. You don't see the guff.
No, he doesn't sigh. He just reads it and goes to the back. Is that not the the mission of the pizza delivery guy, though? Like, how many times do you think he gets told to go to a different door?
Well, there's how many times, and then there's how he reacts each time.
Back door, please. Kevin's got pretty good handwriting, by the way.
Don't you think anybody with the right amount of time does?
Oh, this is not his first draft. This is his most adult handwriting.
I think of it less about drafts and more about iteration on the sign itself, but it could be a draft process as well, where like I find that most bad handwriting, my own included, is just because of speed. Like if you take your time to write, should be good.
This is maybe something where we have to revisit it in the later minute, but I don't think that the handwriting here on this sign matches the handwriting on his battle plan.
Which is just for him to read. It can be chicken scratch. It's just notes. What I write for someone else to read versus my notebook, night and day.
True.
It has to be barely legible for me to read it. Like he wasn't thinking that that would be framed in a museum in the way that we've done with it.
Yeah, no one making this movie was like, hey, let's get the handwriting right. Someday these two nerds are going to dig a little too deep into this. They didn't make this movie for us, but here we are.
Or did they?
Well, they did make it for the us of 1990 for sure. Is this whole scene, is it the most genius Kevin is? I mean, a lot of the traps and stuff he said are inventive, but to figure out that he can use this film that he just watched through the transaction of a pizza buying is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's way less obvious than like a talk boy, where you would be able to feed in whatever lines you want and say, you know, the father, 1180, no problem.
This is maybe the time that I get to share that you, for Christmas, got my daughter a Talk Girl, which I was really touched to see her open. And so grateful that the good people at Galoob,
yeah,
made a version, you know, for the fairer sex. That was really a product that needed to be gendered.
It's a very, very progressive move on their part.
We're going to make the Talk Boy from the Home Alone 2 movie. Oh, yeah. No brainer. Got to do it. But it's called a Talk Boy. What about the girls? We'll make a pink one.
Girls hate silver things. What if we say it's white gold?
Why don't we just call it a Talk Child?
Talk them.
I'm a Talk Boy. Well, I'm a Talk Girl.
Okay.
That's it. I let Galoob decide how I identify.
There are only two talks. I imagine being like the super niche bigot where you just like show up and like, listen, there's a reason they don't make a Talk Zer.
It's Talk Boy and Talk Girl. That's it.
Well, that just reminded me of the like,
just like the Bible says.
Well, it reminded me of the previous generation of bigot, the like Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So there's the like, it's not Talk Boy and other Talk Boy. People are like, dude, what are you even talking about?
I don't even know anymore. I'm just mad. Facebook's got me all bugaboo.
I need to use some anchor point that's not just my opinion. And Galoob is an authority.
I was watching Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, with my nuclear family the other day and noticed something kind of funny. Wanted to run it by Facebook and see what y'all thought. Buckle up.
Is Kevin reading the paper in a dual stool ottoman?
Wanted to talk about the paper too. Why is the paper there? Like, what is Kevin doing with the newspaper?
I think he's waiting for the pizza.
Oh, yeah. But he got the paper? Like,
well, he couldn't play the TV because it's set up to be super loud.
Sure. but the newspaper.
He's a man now.
You see, and this is an interesting point. But
I think there are some hits and misses for him in universe where he's trying to grow up into the man of the house.
sure, yeah, the aftershave is the classic example.
Yeah. And he's like, crevices? Great. Cream rinse? Great. Maybe he's giving the newspaper a whirl.
So while he's waiting the 30 minutes or less for the pizza and getting this stuff set up, he's like, let me see if I like reading the paper.
Well, and that's why I talk about the dual stool ottoman, because he's not just reading the paper, but he's reading it in such a way that he's like in a recliner of sorts, like a DIY recliner, like he's got his legs propped up.
Well, and maybe this speaks to the progression of his character, but as ingenious as his whole scheme is it even necessary?
He might think it is.
I think
that's enough.
That's where I land. Sort of just emotionally, this is where he is. In a practical sense, and, this would be a boring podcast if we just said, oh, the wet bandits would be dead if they really got hit with a paint can. Like, of course. But really, what is the harm in, like, Kevin opening the door, paying for pizza, and saying goodnight, and closing the door? This pizza guy has delivered to children home alone many times.
Kevin doesn't know that.
Right.
I think Kevin's lived a very pampered life. I don't think he knows what the life of a latchkey kid is, or even really knows that they exist.
I like that. Like he's still got that helpless little Kevin part of him to an extent where he's concocting this elaborate ruse to avoid having to pay for a pizza.
You don't know what you don't know, right? As an autodidact, you will still miss out on a bunch of things and probably do things more slowly because you don't know the ways of doing them. And this is where mentors and things are really valuable when we're talking about skills and business building and things like that. But he's like doing his impression of an adult. No one's telling him how things actually are. Mm-hmm. He's just guessing.
And I guess the genius of the movie is we get to have him ignorant of the adult ways when it's funny for him to be ignorant of the adult ways. And we get to see him grow up and mature when emotionally that's what the movie also needs. So it just works either way.
Are there areas where it's inconsistent?
I think so, yeah, for sure. He's already gone shopping for a new toothbrush by himself. He's ventured into town, out of his home, and had an interaction with an employee of a business and tried to have a transaction. And maybe does the failure of that is what sets him back and be like, well, now I'm not talking to anybody. Is he still worried that he's a criminal? And that's why he doesn't want, he thinks the pizza guy is going to go, I saw the wanted signs back in town. This kid's a toothbrush thief. I'm calling the cops.
I have to admit, I had not considered that. I suppose I see it as a bit different because there might have been times where his mom was in a shop next door and sent him to that very same pharmacy to pick up a thing.
No, not our Kevin. He can't pack a suitcase.
Not Kevin, but yeah, maybe I misspoke there. Not him specifically, but someone like him. And he's probably seen, maybe it's not even a stranger. Maybe it's like Jeff. Maybe it's Buzz. Like he's seen someone who is considered a kid do those things as a remote to their parent, which is why I think he feels so comfortable saying what he says in the grocery store about, them just being parked outside. And he's like, yeah, I'm just playing out a thing I've seen before. Whereas I don't think he's seen a kid accept and transact with the pizza.
I think it's more along the lines of it's
scene fodder.
he gets to do the grown-up stuff when it's funny for him to do it, and he gets to do the little kid stuff when it's funny for him to do it. There is a level of inconsistency to it that I completely forgive and don't mind. But I do like the idea that his failed attempt to buy a toothbrush knocks him back to the point where emotionally he can't stand the thought of interacting with another adult, other person in the world. So he figures out this elaborate way to get a pizza without having to see anybody. He's really forward thinking if you think about it, because, just 30 years later with no contact, DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff, like he was a pioneer. Do you have embarrassing or failed pizza ordering attempts from your childhood? Or was that all smooth sailing? Like, when's the first time you tried to order a pizza all by yourself?
It was very early on, and I think this happened not only with pizza, but also checking inventory at Toys R Us. Because I was a child who was somewhat articulate, I got called ma'am a lot. Because my voice was so high, but I did my absolute best to sound like an adult. Just to be professional, not to like disguise that I was a child, but just to be like, all right, this is a business that I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
Not knowing that, like, I'm 7 and the like 15-year-old at Toys R Us is like, what are you talking about?
Really, you guys were closer in esteem and social ranking than you really thought.
Right. I think he's like one click down from my dad, when really, like, both of us are 30 clicks down.
Yeah, you're 31. He's 30.
Right.
What were you looking for at Toys R Us? The Green Power Ranger?
In the one incident that comes to mind now, it was the Millennium Falcon.
Okay. Is this like special edition era?
It was pre that. So before they did special edition, they did what I think was like a preheating or market testing, where they did the new run of toys.
Okay.
And yeah, I just have a very vivid memory of being called ma'am. And I also remember that as a response when calling and ordering from the Pizza Hut on Merchants Drive.
It's a good Pizza Hut.
A great Pizza Hut. I got a Batley hand puppet there.
Oh, I could talk for a long time about all the Pizza Hut promotional toys.
Eureka's Castle.
Oh, man, those Land Before Time puppets.
So good.
The Back to the Future 2 sunglasses.
The Superman and Shazam game up front.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that was before it. I think was it Mortal Kombat they came in after, or Killer Instinct or something like that?
Yeah, depending on which store you were at. Street Fighter.
Yeah, I forget which, but like that Superman game that was up front was like, that was it, man.
Yeah.
Oh man! Also, remember the Indiana Jones stuff that they had?
No.
Yeah, they had like this cool little square like magnifying glass that like pulled out.
Oh yeah,
is not at all cool to me now.
I'm gonna,
because it looks like your mom, or not even your mom's, like your grandma's magnifying glass.
Young Indiana Jones. Some of these things are available on eBay.
Oh, the Electronic Bay.
Okay.
Which is my wife's new blog.
Is it about Beyonce? Young Indiana Jones Chronicles Scope Toy.
Is it a square magnifying glass that pulls out of a black box?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I only vaguely remember that. That's when I was 13, my uncle went out of town and he invited me to like house sit or stay at his house. I don't remember why. I don't know if there was like a reason I needed to. Maybe he was just like, let me have my own little Kevin McAllister situation. So Dad drove me over there and he left me like $20 to get a pizza. And I'm like, yeah, cool, I got this. And I realized it was, I think, the first time I had ordered a pizza, or maybe what was complicated about it is that I was ordering it from a place that was not my home. Because usually, like, you call them up, they know your phone number, they verify the address, you say yes, and then you're all good.
Right. So they're like, what's the address? And you're like, I don't know.
That's exactly how it happened, Jared. They got to the what's your address part, and I had to go, I don't know. What does the pizza guy think when someone says, I want to order pizza? What's the address? I don't know.
I assume they hear that every third call.
I think 90% of the people who are calling for a pizza know what they're doing. I had to rummage through my uncle's house for a piece of mail that had his address on it. And I think that took so long, and I was so a dumb 13-year-old about it, that I think the guy just assumed I was making something up and did not order my pizza for me. So an hour and a half or 2 hours later, I call them back and go, yeah, my pizza never showed up.
That system is pretty loose. Let's be real.
I mean, that's me at 12 or 13. And Kevin at 8 is able to get a pizza and devise this scheme to not have to interact with the pizza guy. He's on a different level than I am. I'm dumb. He's smart. That's my point.
Can I just say that I envy the lack of anxiety at 13 that you had? Because at 13, before I make a phone call to any other human being, I'm thinking about the 12 ways it's going to go wrong, what information I need to be on that call, what right I have to be on that call, and how I need to assert that.
Yeah.
To be so cavalier as to not even think about the address that you need. What a cocksure 13-year-old.
In hindsight, I really thought that
you're just they'll figure it out for me. Do they know who I am?
But that's how it works when you call and they recognize your number. They go, oh, you're so-and-so at this address, right? And you go, yeah.
But at 13, you know that that's how they recognize your number.
Well, I guess maybe I was assuming that my uncle at some point had ordered a pizza and they could also identify how to get pizza in my mouth.
Oh, yeah, but you never trust the system. You know that system is there, but you never trust it. So even if he was saved in it, it's the same thing with ordering from your house. You always want to be okay, I know my address, right? Because if it's not saved and they go,
I know my address.
And sometimes people will be oh, well, confirm the address for me, because they want to make sure that you're, not spoofing or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, you just doing it without a net, huh?
Well, I clearly should have worried about it a little more, because I did not get a pizza for a long time because I fumbled it so badly.
We'll say lesson learned, but
you know who my uncle lived really close to, and I got to walk over to her house and spend the next day with her, is Christina Crane, who did the artwork for the new Home Alone's EP.
And the old Home Alone's EP.
Yeah, I had thought about that
today.
The
one from 14 years ago. Which doesn't sound real.
Yeah. I think it was last year a student found the Home Alones and was like, are you going to put out some more music? I'm oh, I don't know, maybe. He's like, it's been 14 years. Maybe you should do something.
This was the best anniversary to do something on, 14th.
Yeah. So all that to say, there's a couple new Home Alone songs out there for you.
But more importantly, Baxter's art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way better than the art it represents.
I asked her if she could draw a tarantula holding a French flag and said, it's okay if you're busy, but I kind of want it tomorrow. And she delivered on time, asked for no payment, and put a beret on the tarantula.
Can we splice in her Venmo here or something?
She's a big animal lover. So if you enjoyed the new Home Alone songs even a little bit, throw $1 or $2 to whatever local animal shelter you've got. And I think that'll make the most talented person involved in its release. Very happy. We could at least plug the Instagram, right? Hooray, Baxter. No dashes, no underscores. Just hooray, HOORAY, Baxter. And you'll find the nicest, most talented person I know.
Yeah, give her at least 3 likes.
Yes. Like and subscribe.
As many likes as you have left for the day.
Yeah, unless you're on one of those fancy premium Instagram accounts where you have unlimited likes.
I do have one more open item.
Yeah, okay.
It does feel a bit imbalanced because I don't have an unsung hero for this minute, but I do have a continuity call out. As we progress through this minute, the newspaper gets perfectly folded onto the counter when Kevin is nowhere near it. The paper that had recently been spread wide open, backdoor please, that paper is now tidily folded and put just so on the counter.
How do you feel if let's say his name is Dan. How do you feel if Dan was both the guy who folded the newspaper when he shouldn't have and brought in the speakers? Like those were both one guy's move.
Overall positive.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
B+.
Dan wins.
See? That's all right. What is interesting, I guess this is my last item, listening to the DVD commentary reminded me of something that, of course, is true, but didn't really occur to me, is that Kevin and Pizza Boy are having this interaction through a good bit of movie magic, in that the Pizza Boy is over there on Lincoln at the exterior of the home, and Kevin's on the soundstage. And of course, with the child labor laws, they're shooting Kevin like early in the day, and they're shooting him at night. They weren't anywhere near each other in this interaction.
Well, luckily, the Pizza Boy only had to have chemistry with Johnny, who was not subject to those labor laws.
Cheapskate.